Hi, my name is Shane Robinson. Me and my history fair partners decided to do Rosa Parks for a history fair. But then when I was talking with my grandfather, Eugene Robinson, I found out that he was a living example of someone who has taken a stand. Quick facts. My grandfather, Eugene Roger Robinson, was born in Lynn, Arkansas, July 12, 1931. He moved to Jefferson, Texas on July 1st, 1963. Jefferson, Texas is the county seat of Marion County. Jefferson schools were still segregated in the mid-1960s. Jim Crow laws were still enforced then. Someone had to take a stand, and it was my grandfather.
Went to college in Tyler, Texas College. I finished it. And prior to my finishing college in Tyler, I was called into the armed forces where I served in the medical corps in the Army for 2 years. I toured overseas in Puerto Rico, and I really wish I could have stayed there. I was discharged in Kansas in '56. I went back to school and I completed my education. And I started teaching. I taught at the college a couple of years after I finished. I got my master's. I moved to school in Winona, Texas. I taught there for a couple of years. From there I taught 1 year in Linden, 1 year in Connacht, and that summer I went to work at the Morton Dicol plant there, which was Army installation in Connacht. It was so discriminatory there that I couldn't come back to the school system. I just didn't like what I saw, and I stayed there to see if I could get out.
And why did you move to Jefferson?
I moved to Jefferson in the 60s. And at that time, my wife, Ida, had worked. She was kind of extension agent here. And so I went to work in Linden, which is close by. They were gone. I stayed there 27 years until I retired and I walked out. And now, after that, I also was elected as county commissioner in Marion County, in this very county, this crazy son of a gun, because we had the number of blacks at the time, and we're yet afraid.
Why did you become politically involved?
I didn't like the way we as minorities were being treated, and it did not coincide with the Constitution of this country. And we as a people, many of us, we just take anything they tell us and go. But I'm one, I believe in challenging. If it's not true, then why did they put it in black and white? That's the way I see it.
As the first black county commissioner.
1988. I was sworn in, 89. I was sworn in January 1, '89. Well, there was some improvements. There were some We were integrated. There were job openings, and just humongous of things. There were better treatments, better streets. There were things that we were not doing that now we're able to do and participate in different programs, different jobs. You could get promotions. It's just not enough time to teach about all the stuff that we had to go through.
And Papa Gene worked at Thiokol ammunition plant. He formerly was a history teacher and a football coach. Papa Gene was the president of the NAACP. He was very active. He was a former history teacher, so he knew all his history, and he was up on the Constitution and all this little stuff. So when he saw that things weren't right, he felt a need, or I guess, to make it right.
When did you switch from a segregated school to an integrated school, and what was it like?
At the end of the 7th grade, there was a law passed that black children had the right to go to any school of their choice. So if you chose to go to the white school, then you could go. But a lot of people did not choose to. But my father, being the president of the NAACP and the activist that he was determined that all of his kids were going to go to the white school. He was going to make a stance. He was going to be. And so when I entered the 8th grade, I entered the 8th grade at Jefferson High School, which was predominantly white. There were 5 black kids in my class. And the next year was the year that full integration started, which meant that all of the black schools and the white schools in that area had to come together. So instead of sending white kids to the black school and black kids to the white school and kind of dividing us up, the black school, as I told you before, had pre-K through 12th grade on one campus, whereas the white school had a separate school for the elementary, a separate school for the junior high, and a separate school for the high school. So with that, there were a lot of lawsuits and a lot of things that came about because of his involvement and because of his position as the president of the NAACP. And I can remember growing up, I would come home some afternoons and there would be a living room full of people, and there were people from the civil rights organization, from the NAACP. There were people from Washington who came down several times, and every now and then he would call some of us, me and some of my friends, into the living room, and they would ask us questions about what was going on at school and so forth. But they met into the wee hours of the night. I mean, our living room was like town hall. It was just a constant thing. I can remember getting up in the middle of the night on several occasions, especially after the people from Washington would leave, and there would be bomb threats. People would threaten to burn our house down, and we would have to get up and get dressed, and my mom would grab clothes for the next day at school, and we would go and stay with a friend, and we would get up and we would go to school from there the next day. And while we were in those apartments, they burned down. All of our furniture. My mother had my grandmother's her piano, nice old antique piano that I learned how to play piano on. It burned down. Everything burned down. We got out of there with the clothes on our backs. And so we ended up moving into a house across the street, and we stayed there for years. But I never will forget that, having to get up in the middle of the night and run here and run there, and then this big fire came. But after that, things kind of calmed down a little bit.